Hi, Bob.
Hello, Zax.
What is this?
This is my new, kind of friend's voice. I'm gonna try using this for the foreseeable future.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I
How do you
like
feel
it
about
all.
it? It's
I,
consider it a branding exercise.
well, I don't think it really goes with anything we're about over here.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
We like to be ourselves on this channel.
I mean, that's just a different side of me.
Is it, though?
Not really. Today we're looking at episode 10 from Netflix from their show Creeped Out. I goofed that all up. It's an episode called SpaceMan. And it's kind of another sci-fi episode of Creeped Out. It's not particularly creepy.
I guess technically it is sci-fi, though. So.
But I mean, like, it's not called Sci-Fi'd Out.
No. Ooh, but what if that was like a new tagline, like "Unleash your inner scientist"?
I mean, sci-fi is not science.
Well, it's science fiction.
Okay, well, see, I think they're going for like a Twilight Zone thing where like you can touch on any topic, but like part of what makes the Twilight Zone work is that it's called the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, like anything can happen in the Twilight Zone.
Right.
Not anything can happen in.
Yeah. If I called it like 2-sentence horror stories, you know, or 2-second horror stories as I always call it, then like that one show, they can't venture into things other than horror. That's the whole point of calling them horror stories. Same way this one's supposed to be creepy, except it's not. Creeped Out is just the name of the show. Anyways, so it begins with The Curious. And the first time we watched this, the second time we watched this episode, the third time we watched this episode, both of us are independently, and then we share this moment, struck by just how little they've got going on with The Curious anymore. Like, they don't have anything for him to do anymore. Especially at the beginning of episodes. Because at the beginning of this episode, he's walking around, well, not even walking around, he's standing around in a small cave, and he's got a tin in one hand and a wooden spoon in the other, and he's just tapping away at the walls. Just like... And it's like... You got nothing? It was almost like they handed the kid in this Curious outfit these two props and said, improvise. And he was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I think he did know what he was going to do, and he decided, I'm just going to be sad and alone.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to come across as like mysterious, but it does just look like sad and alone. Like, imagine a child who's so lonely that they find that their only source of enjoyment is tapping a wall with a stick. That's really depressing, actually. Don't imagine that. Forget I asked you to imagine that. The narrator says something about, like, when you're away from home, that's scary, but imagine if your home was on the other side of the galaxy or universe or whatever.
Which, like...
And you had no way to get back, you know? And it's like, okay. So this is going to be an episode about being homesick, I guess.
Yeah, I think if my home was on the other side of the galaxy and I had no way of ever going back, I'd be a little bummed out, but I think mostly I'd be like, ah! Because, like, how did I get to the other side of the galaxy?
Well, I mean, if you know how you got there, then I think your first thought should be like, all right, survival, you know? I need food, I need shelter from the elements.
I guess, you know what,
if I've got a spaceship, I need fuel.
But in my head, I just picture, like, Superman 2, the Phantom Zone, and I'm just, like, spinning through space.
Yeah, sure, okay. In that scenario, yes. I understand. In that scenario, I totally get it. I agree. I would also be like,
Because they say you can never get back.
It's a fair. Okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
Imagine waking up one day and you're in the Phantom Zone.
Eh. So, okay, so we start off with our lead boy Thomas, who is very much not a spaceman in the Phantom Zone, but he is walking home in the woods. And we see this street sign that
It's like a little
it's
trail
also
sign.
I feel the need to mention that it's like not really pointing in any like helpful direction. Like if you think of a trail,
Yeah, it
and
seems
it'll
like there's
say,
like a trail and then it like forks into two different smaller paths. And this sign seems to be pointing at none of the forks. It's just
Yeah.
pointing it towards the woods.
Yeah. Like, if you think, and like, it says, so.
It
This is
says
so lame.
London, 333 miles that away, which is like 300 some miles away from London. If you were to draw a 333 mile radius circle around London, most of it's going to be in the water. Some of it's going to be in like Scotland, and some of it's in France and like in mainland Europe, right?
Yeah.
So like
I-
there's no way a walking trail has a sign for something that's hundreds of miles away. Like realistically. So I think we're both pretty firmly in agreement that this has got to be either some kind of metaphorical thing or it's a visualization of how he's feeling. He's looking up at a sign and thinking, "Gosh, I miss home."
Yeah,
Something like
exactly.
that, right? I don't know why they do this, though. I don't know why they feel like they need to show this. I guess I appreciate the attempt to show and not tell.
Well,
Except that they later just show us through the dialogue between him and his mom, and him and the secondary main character. Like, a couple times throughout the episode, very smoothly, the conversation just drifts in the direction of, like, you come from London. Back home, we had this thing. It's quite far away from there. Like, all of these details didn't, like, they're already in the dialogue, so I don't know why. It's kind of like when you see in a movie or a TV show, you see like a location plate. Like you see, you know, the text typing on screen, and you see like, you know, you hear beep boop beep boop boop sci-fi noises, and you see it's like Hong Kong, you know, 2800 hours or whatever to tell you where and when you are. Except then the dialogue just tells you where you are anyways. So it's like, why did we need that? I mean, like, imagine the scene where the kid's just walking home, looks sad, and he's walking home through the woods, and when he gets home, his mom is just like, "So how was your first day of school?" And he's like, "It's not like it was back home." And it's like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll go back and see your old friends in London later." And, like, just move on from there.
yeah, they really could have started with him just stepping into the house. But what they decide to do is they showed us that whole walk home.
Not
And
the
then-
whole walk home, but a bit of it.
So we see his walk home, and he goes in and he sees the moving boxes, and he's like, "Mom."
Not that the boxes are
but-
moving, but that they just moved into the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is this perfectly still box when he comes into the main room, and his mom bursts out of it.
Yeah. And that
And
begs you go ahead and ask the question that's on both of our minds.
How long was this woman in the box? So, like, school gets out, maybe 3:15, let's say.
Sure.
How long is the walk from home?
Yeah,
Did he
let's
talk to anybody?
even if it's a short walk home, right? Like, let's say it's a 4-minute walk home. Pretty close. Which it doesn't seem like it is, because they later
He's
mention
in the-
he's surprised they have neighbors at all. But
Yeah.
let's say it's a very short walk home. Then so she sees a thing that says, "Oh, 3." Maybe she sees from the window even that he's there, right? And she hops in the box. She doesn't know when he's going to enter this room. Is she gonna wait in the box the whole time, or is she gonna have to awkwardly step out of the box and go, "Oh, my practical joke didn't work"?
Well, I guess that's what I want to know more so than how long was she in the box before he got home. I want to know how long was she willing to go?
Yeah.
How committed was she to this goof? Because she seemed so proud of herself. And she was like, I made you flinch. And he was like, nothing scary happens here. Remember, that's why we moved here.
Yeah, you said nothing
Ooh.
scary happens in the country. And
And he's like,
"Purr, purr, 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 purr." They talk about some random crap. And then she's like, so how was school? And, oh, yeah, there's some, like, random, like, debris on his shoulder, and she kind of wipes it off. And he says, well, I got paired up at school with this kid who ate, like, 10 bags of potato chips, and everybody calls him Spud. And she's like, Spud is his name? And he's like, it's his nickname. And she's like, well, forget about that. I've arranged for you to hang out with the neighbor's son. And he's like, we have neighbors? And I'm almost quoting this dialogue verbatim, actually.
yeah.
And then she's just like, they hear like a knock at the door. And she's like, oh, that must be him. And they go over to the door. And she opens it. And there's this kid standing there eating potato chips. And she says, you must be Henry. And the kid eating potato chips goes, yeah, but everybody calls me Spud. And then her smile kind of falls a little bit, and she's like, oh no, I've set my son up with a total loser. She doesn't say that, but you can tell.
Well, also her face is like I think it's interesting because like her son, he has this like fed up look with pretty much everyone for the whole episode.
Yeah.
But the look on her face to me read more like, man, I just can't win with this kid today.
Yeah.
She tried to make him smile. She's like, I got in a box for you. I found a friend for you.
I got a
But
question.
like,
Would you get in a box for your son?
I get in a box for my son.
Now, I'm going to take this a step further. Imagine the following. Your son's coming home from school. I'm there. You're there. You say, I'm going to get in this box and spook him. You get in the box. And then I say, okay, to make it extra spooky, I'm going to close the box. And then the kid comes in and I'll tell him to open it. And there's a surprise inside. Then you can jump out. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you for helping me surprise my son.
I close the box. And then I tape it shut. And then we just leave.
See, now I think you're turning my son against me.
No. I don't even tell him. He doesn't even know you're in the box. I'll like meet him in the front room and be like, "Hey, your mom wanted me to take you somewhere. Let's go. We're going to the soda shack."
So you're gonna babysit my son,
Yeah.
and meanwhile,
No. Babysit it's more like kidnapping.
he's just okay. So we talked about.
I'm describing false imprisonment in a cardboard box for you, and kidnapping your son.
So you're just.
So how would you feel
trying-
about that on a scale of 1 to 10? How do you feel the goof is good? Because afterwards we come home and then I tell him, "Oh, there's a surprise in the box. Open it up," and they open it up, and you're in there. Would you still jump out?
Yeah, and hurt you.
That's fair. That's fair. I think that's fair.
I'm not leaving without my son.
I might still do it, but that's fair.
I'm gonna go lifetime mom on you. Lock me in a box, will you?
Lifetime mom.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Powerful matriarch moment. Yeah! That's you powering up.
yeah. Super Saiyan, super lifetime.
Saiyan mom. Yeah, super lifetime Saiyan mom.
Yeah. So, okay. So they're playing together, which is actually not really playing anything. They're just taking
the
a
two
nice.
kids.
They're taking, yeah.
Spud and
Thomas
Thomas.
yeah.
Hey, we
They're
remembered
taking-
their names.
Ooh, maybe this one is
No.
good.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say maybe we're gonna start remembering from now on. No, this is a one-off. Next
Okay.
episode, we're gonna go right back to forgetting their names. But yeah, no, they're wandering through the woods
And it's
and
just they're taking a lovely stroll together through the woods
kind
and
of getting to
talk.
know each other. Spud is like,
Yeah.
you know, so what did you do? You know, you didn't have a fort in London? And he's like, no, we didn't have a fort. There wasn't room for a fort. And he's like, oh man, so what'd you play on? And he's like, Xbox. And Spud just kind of shrugs. And it's like, okay, they're kind of, you're seeing like this kid's a city kid, this kid's a country kid. They have very different sorts of upbringings, yada yada. Finally,
Yeah.
Spud says, "Oh, there's this other kid who used to live at the house you live in now, and he wouldn't shut up about there's." He said there was this unexploded World War II bomb in the area, and he kind of moves some brush out of the way, and there's like a little fort, I guess, is what it
Mhm.
must be, and you know they kind of walk up and down a little bit, and Thomas says, "You know, I think I'm gonna head home. Good to see you, but yeah, I'm gonna get home." And before he goes home, he like looks down the ways a little bit, and he sees what to me looks like a very shallow creek. Doesn't look like much at
Mhm.
all. And Thomas goes like, "Are you sure it was a bomb? Because this looks more like a crash landing." And I guess I can see a crash landing, but like that seems like a big leap to make to me. Like
Yeah.
what I'm seeing on screen looks like it's just some water. You know, like that could just be erosion.
No, it's no.
Well, okay. And Spud's like, I don't know. And so the two of them kind of wander off in that direction and they start finding pieces, mechanical pieces. And Thomas says, like, wow, if the plane crashed here, then, you know, parts must be strewn all over the place, you know? And they find
Which
something that they think is the plane's black box. You know, which would has what am I saying? Which would house the final recordings of the plane. And so Thomas is like, we got to take it
by
back
the
home and make it
way,
work.
by the way,
Uh huh.
uh I don't know. Maybe now granted, if it's right, then like this is a super historical discovery and they should take it to a museum or something and like good job. But on the other hand, I'm just thinking they're like how old would you say? Like 13 maybe?
Yeah, like maximum.
Yeah, possibly younger. How morbid would it be to listen to the recordings of people about to die?
Um. So yeah, it's pretty morbid. I do want to say though, sometimes, well, I guess for kids there wouldn't be a lot of instructive value. For adults, there might be some instructive value in listening to these things. I don't know.
Okay.
But like, yeah, like 10, 13 year olds, I wouldn't. I can see a 13-year-old's listening to the final moments of someone's life in a black box recording, but it would also be pretty morbid. But
It just
teenagers and kids do all kinds of things that they think are, you know, it hasn't quite hit them the seriousness of what they're doing. So that's not that.
and
It's not like I imagine a kid being like about it. I think most kids would be like whoa.
but the adults who wrote they do.
That's true. That is a weird thing for the adults to imply.
Yeah. So they're like, we gotta get this thing to work. And they go home, and he does this like thing where he like syncs it up to something.
He
and
connects.
a lot of,
Yeah, he's got like a screwdriver and he's got some electronics or whatever. And
a lot of hoopla.
yeah, a lot of hoopla. And and Spud is like, "Wow, you're a real geek." And Thomas is like rolling his eyes and being like,
Real to sunder.
"Yeah, Tasundara is pronounced. It's pronounced Tasundara."
To sunder.
I want it to be clear that I'm joking. I don't want your comment section to be full of people. It's already full of people correcting us.
Really.
So he's he's working on it, and it turns out it's definitely not human because it doesn't look anything like a black box, and also the symbols on it are like coming up in like some weird language, and Spud is like, "Well, are you gonna press the button?" some symbol appears on screen for him to press, and Thomas is like, "No, why would I press the button? Like I don't know what it does." And Spud is like, "Well, you should just press the button." And he presses the button, and
Which, like, to be fair, we did come all this way.
I don't think it's a smart idea to just press random buttons just because you found them.
I mean, what's worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario, it's like a nuke launch.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
like, this is some kind of sci-fi, potentially military crash landing. I don't know how the military lost track of this very particular piece, but like, it's like, I don't know. They found a thing, they got it working, and it has an unknown symbol on it. I mean, maybe when you press the button, like, imagine if it's connected to some other totally innocuous thing. Like, let's imagine that this is a piece from a refrigerator, and I don't know why a refrigerator exploded, but this is a piece of it. Pressing that button could release freon gas, which, in the room with them, could just really damage their lungs. Even if it's not intended as a hostile thing, they are holding a piece of a device. They're not even holding a full device, potentially. They don't know what it does. Pressing any button could be I mean, even just bringing it in the house is not a smart idea. Could be radioactive. They don't know.
that's fair. But they just thought they were going to listen to some deaths. Anyway.
Yeah,
So
they just thought they were going to listen to some black box recordings of deaths.
So, we go to that night, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's like a rock thrown at Thomas's window, and he goes over and he sees Spud standing there in his bathrobe. Like, you see the light? It worked. Or something.
Yeah, and then you look out in the woods, and there's like this strange pinkish purple light out in the woods, and Thomas is whisper yelling, basically just yelling, but in a hoarse whisper. I'm not gonna go out there and look. We can just look in the morning.
And then Spud's like, "But you can't see light in the morning."
That's a horrible Spud impression.
It is.
Okay.
But I sound like a foreign boy.
I'm gonna let your question linger. He says, "Now we're how are we supposed to see it in the morning? It's a light." And Thomas goes, "Oh, fine." So he sneaks out.
Mind you, he changes into proper clothes. He gets out of his pajamas.
Yeah, I don't know why Spud doesn't. But
Because it's,
by the way, Spud never eats potato chips again for the whole episode after that very first time we see him.
Yeah, he should have been in a bathrobe and potato chips.
Yeah, like this would have been a perfect time for potato chips, or really any other time. We literally never see him eating potato chips.
No.
I don't get it.
It's very... So, they go to the woods, and then they hear this noise, and then they're like, ah! So they run home, and then his mom comes downstairs and like, what's all the commotion? They're like, did he think someone was chasing us? So she's like, okay, I'm gonna go check it. And then they're like, okay. And then she says, call 911. And they just sort of hold the phone like they're going to call. But then something happens that stops them from calling.
What? I'm sorry, I blacked out for a second. Did you get to them getting to the glow? And getting chased back?
I fast forwarded.
Did you skip over them getting chased back?
They got chased home.
Yeah.
Then they're inside, and then the mom comes down.
Yeah, it's a big spookamus coming after him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I legit blacked out.
This show is destroying you.
Yeah, I just totally missed everything. Okay.
So they're going to like call. They're like, what do we even say? But then something happens that keeps them from calling.
And that thing is...
Okay, you're just gonna leave me. But
No, I can do it. I can... This is still smooth. We can still salvage this.
Okay.
What did you want me to say?
The alien!
Oh, okay. So they're like about to call, and then you see they're like, wait a minute, if it's not outside, then it's and then they turn to the left, and sure enough, there's in the doorway, there's the spookum. It looks like a big adult man, kind of in a predator-esque spacesuit, and they don't scream. That would be foolish. And they're not fools. They stand there, and this kid, the alien starts to take off its helmet, and you see it's got kind of a childish face, and it's got a thing covering its nose and mouth, like not a visor. Whatever the opposite of a visor is, a thing that covers just the nose, a gas mask kind of thing, and then it kind of gets shorter and it becomes kid sized, and I thought that looks dumb. I don't know why they had an adult-sized spookum chasing after them, only to have a kid-sized thing show up. I don't know. Why does wearing a helmet make you taller?
Yeah, I don't know any answers to any of all that.
So anyways, Thomas looks at him and he's, oh, it's a kid. And then this thing on its chest is going beep boop beep boop. And then it says, hello, this is my translator. I have been separated from my people and I need help getting home. And they're like, oh, we should call my mom. She'll help. And he says, no, your mother cannot find out about me. And then Spud is like, yeah, she'll call the police and they'll take him away and do experiments on him. And, then mom's coming back, so they pull him aside and casually stand in the doorway, and she's like, well, the thing chasing you turned out to be a kitty cat. What were you two doing out there in the middle of the night anyway? And Spud is like, and then Thomas says, it was just a dumb dare. I'm sorry, we won't do that again. And she's like, yeah, okay. By the way, Thomas, if you're going to have a sleepover, please tell me beforehand in the future. And then she goes up.
Okay. So the next morning, we're back in the woods, and they were like, so a little bit more happened. They were like, you can't go out in that. Everyone's going to know you're an alien. So they put this sad lost alien. Now he looks like a person, sort of, except they keep the gas mask on, which I think would raise the most questions.
Yeah, they put him in this. They put him in this like pinkish tuxedo, and
yeah, like he's ducky.
And Thomas is like, Spud, is this really the best you could do? And Spud's like, yeah, I had to do something that my mom wouldn't miss. I wore it to my cousin's wedding once, and I gotta say that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, like, if you gave him... Let's ignore the gas mask for a second. We'll come back to that. If I was trying to disguise someone and I wanted to pick clothes that my mother wouldn't miss, I would pick clothes that are extremely common and uninteresting. Like a blank blue shirt and one of my many pairs of jeans. Right?
Yeah, I guess...
Like, those common clothes, my mom might be like, I thought he had 6 pairs of jeans, but I guess he has 5. Oh, well. If you take the one tuxedo you have in your closet, and it's gone, your mom's instantly gonna be like, where's that tuxedo you wore to your cousin's wedding once?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking about that too. Like, why is his mom keeping such a log of his belongings?
I mean, like... That's just it. Like, if it was common clothes, then you could just say she wouldn't miss it, because she's not keeping a very close eye. But even without keeping a very close eye, you're gonna notice a huge change, like a major item, like a tuxedo, missing from a closet. Yeah. You know, like, every time I go in the closet, I have to push the tuxedo out of the way so I can hang up the other clothes. If the tuxedo's just not there, then next time she's doing laundry, she's going to notice the tuxedo's missing.
Yeah.
But then on top of all that, there's still... I don't know why they're even bothering trying to make it so he can blend in, because they're not taking him to civilization. Because he still has the gas mask and the translator on his chest.
And also, to be clear, for the rest of this episode, we don't even see the mom again. We don't see another character interact
Yeah, it's
with these
just
three.
Spud, Thomas, and the alien. Who later gets the name Sam.
Stan.
See? It's good that... See? We'll never remember all the names.
Yeah, luckily the mom didn't have a name.
Yeah, according to the wiki, her name is Thomas's mom.
I like that. Okay, so here's the deal with Stan. He needs to go home, and and he's also like, my life energy is draining. We have to go to this high mountain and
Collect something, right? It's like there's a...
something like that.
There's like some... I think it's his communicator or
It's
his
like
crash pod or something.
Yeah, like part of the ship and part of him, or it really, really does not matter. But
Yeah.
Thomas is like, okay, I'll help you. And then Spud is like, oh, well, maybe we should go back because, like, he's weak or something, like, semi-reasonable, semi-not, because it's like, seems like you gotta do this either way. But then Thomas is like, no, we have to get him home.
Mm-hmm. And it's like...
No, he says, we have to get me home. I mean, him home.
Yeah, and the entire audience kind of, like, face palms and eye rolls, and because it's like, do you get it? Do you get the parallel? This alien from outer space is homesick, and Thomas from London is homesick. Do you get it? We're trying to really drive it home. Do you get it? And we're like, okay, yeah, we get it, episode.
If I was a kid who just moved away and was feeling homesick, would I even learn anything from this episode? Because here's what happens. So they do the thingy and they send the message, and then Spud...
Whoa! You're skipping way ahead. Hold on. Chill. Cool your jets. Because, like, we gotta go through... Stan can read minds. Remember?
I really didn't care, but all right.
It's important because he's like, hey, he's like, wow, you can read minds? And he's like, yeah, Thomas, you wish you could disable Spud's voice box. And Spud is, like, hurt. And then he turns to Spud and he says, Spud, you hope that Thomas doesn't notice you farting. And Spud again looks sad. And it's like, wow, just really dunking on their friendship, or whatever it is, their acquaintanceship. And so then they get all the transmitter or whatever, they're getting all that stuff, and they're gonna send a message to the aliens so that he can go home. And Spud's looking around at the spaceship, and he sees like something that looks like the translator, and he's like, oh, isn't that the translator that the alien has on his chest? And being the doofus, oh wait, before that, as is tradition, we have to go back a little bit. They're talking about the pod, and Spud is just like about to press some buttons, or no, he is pressing buttons just randomly, even though the alien's right there, and the alien's like, "Stop! What are you doing?" And Spud's like, "I don't know, it's just like pressing buttons," which is like such a stupid response. And the alien's just like, "If you press the wrong button, that pod will fly into space, and it will send you into the stratosphere." And Spud's like, cool! And Thomas is just looking at him like, what the heck is wrong with you? And the alien's looking at Spud like, what the heck is wrong with you? And Spud's like, what? I don't know. Because Spud's an idiot, I guess. Anyways, so then he starts sending the message back, and Spud sees this thing that looks like a translator. He's like, I wonder what this does. He presses the button, and it translates the alien language into English. And Stan is saying to the aliens that he is he's like, Army Commander blah blah blah, and we found our target planet. The Earthlings here on this target planet are a stupid and weak species. I have convinced them to help me. Just follow the targeting on my pod, and once you get here, the invasion can begin. And this is such a big twist. And Thomas and Spud are like, what? No, he's evil. And then
they're also, here's something else too. They're also really, but more than that, they're betrayed. They're like, he's not really a kid.
Yeah, and then Stan steps up and he's just like, I never said I was a kid. You said I was a kid, and I didn't disagree. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, just yeah.
So then he's like, "Mwahaha, Spud, your stupidity ends the." Oh no, not to Spud, to Thomas. He's like, "You don't need to feel sad. My species is forever grateful to you. You've only doomed your planet." And it's like, well, maybe I wouldn't have felt bad. Hey, I wouldn't have felt bad if you were a little nice to me about it. Yeah. But anyway. Then Spud is like, hey, prisoners of war.
It is tradition on Earth. It is tradition on Earth to grant prisoners of war a final request. And Stan is like, all right, name your request. And I think that's just ridiculous. Who gives a crap about what some other culture's prisoner... I mean, look, I'm not saying this, I'm not some war ethicist, right? I don't think war is cool at all. So, I'm not talking about real world conflicts, but if an alien species comes to our planet, why on Earth, why in heck would they ever care about what our principles are? I mean, they're coming here to destroy humanity. Why would they give us a last request?
Well, maybe it's just I couldn't have done it without you two, so
I'll give you one last chance to thwart me now that you know my plan.
Well, and that too.
Why?
So,
why would you do that?
Because...
once you've revealed that you're evil, I feel like it makes perfect sense to just just murk these kids. Pull out your space gun and kill them.
But, well, that wouldn't... no one would get creeped out by that.
I guess, but I'm not creeped out by this.
No.
Imagine how much scarier it would be if Stan, Spud is like, it's earthly tradition to, and then Stan just grabs Spud by the face and lifts him off the ground, and then, with his other hand, he crushes his throat and throws him to the ground, and Thomas is like, oh my god, and he starts running away, and the other, the alien's chasing after him. It's horrifying, and, grabs him by the ankle, and Thomas is, being dragged into the woods, and then the creeped out music kicks back in, and they're just like, be careful what you wish for. I don't know why they would say that, but be careful who you trust. And then that's it. The Curious is just the last shot of the Curious is him with a space gun, and he's fighting off alien hordes.
I think I'd like to go to the Phantom Zone now, please.
Ah! That was me going to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, yes, good. You should. That was horrifying.
Anyway, Stan says, yeah, okay, what's your request? And he turns to Thomas first. And Thomas is like, I just want you to tell my mother that I love her. And Stan is just like, cool, can do. And I'm like, Thomas, you blew it, bud. He just bought you a chance to thwart him, and you're just throwing away Spud's good luck, I guess. Spud goes, my last request is, say, what's the alien word for launch? And the alien says, oh, it's launch. And then Spud runs past him and presses the button on the pod, and the pod goes flying off into space. And I don't know how that's supposed to work.
Well, I think
Like, is it like he knew that there would need to be a vocal command to launch it? Because if that's the case, then he was not at risk of launching it earlier because nobody had said the alien word for launch.
No,
And
I don't.
if you didn't need the vocal command, then Spud could have been like anything else. He could have just been like, I would like to learn about your spaceship. I don't know. Spud's apparently quick enough he can just dart past Stan, the alien, and the alien's just gonna stand there like a dope going, oh no, I can't believe it. He beat me. He tricked me. Anyways, the pod launches into space, and Spud turns around and he just says, if they're gonna be tracking your pod, then they're never gonna make it to Earth. And Stan is trapped on Earth, and he looks at them angrily. And Thomas says, well, at least Stan will be able to blend in, because he kind of resembles a human child. Which is like, I don't know why you even care whether he can blend in.
Yeah, he was gonna kill
He was
y'all.
gonna genocide humanity.
But he did it. He's a failure. But at least he can blend in.
Yeah, like what? And then Stan is like, "Urgh," and he removes the remainder of his mask, the gas mask part, and it turns out he doesn't have a mouth! Ah! Can you be more scared with me? He doesn't have a mouth, oh no! We're so scared!
So then Spud is like, oh yeah, we did it. And then we go back to the Curious,
Yeah.
who's like,
Who's
no
just
longer
kind of digging
okay.
around in the grass. Now he's finding some pieces of the ship or whatever, and he finds a beeping device in the grass. And the narrator says, looks can be deceiving, and you should take a close look at who you think your friends are. And at this point, I started to wonder, do you think Creeped Out actually intends to have a point? Like each episode? Like, all this time we've been kind of assuming that each episode of Creeped Out has a moral.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they're not trying to have a moral. And the reason I say that is because if we follow the episode as a whole, like if we just listen to the very end, the advice is take a close look at who your friends are, because looks can be deceiving, right? But if we take the whole episode holistically, what you started with is being homesick, then there's this parallel to Traveler from Space coming to Earth, Thomas coming from London to the countryside. But then, at the end of the day, the Spaceman is actually evil, and he came to Earth to destroy it, and then he's saying, like, looks can be deceiving.
Well, I mean, I guess the thing is, the beginning, the first Curious is talking about being homesick, and that's what we start off with Thomas being homesick.
Right.
But the ending thing is like, looks can be deceiving.
Uh-huh.
So I think it's just like, by the end of it, we got here. And also the Curious is in a new place, so we have a new point. But sometimes the Curious is in the same place both times, and it's just, and
sometimes
both
it's the same point on both sides.
Yeah, but this time it wasn't. But I think what's weird, I guess, is like, looks can be deceiving, and be careful who you think are your friends. And so Thomas thought Alien Boy was really his friend, but he was evil. But
Yeah.
Spud was weird, and he turned out to be helpful, sort of.
But like that has
at
no
the end.
bearing on the travel aspect of it, the homesick aspect of it. And again, in these very tense political climates that we're in, it seems like a weird thing to even mix up. Because basically what happens is an alien, in this case a space alien, an alien comes to the UK, and it turns out he's a danger to them all, which is
Yeah.
the Brexiteers' biggest fear. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's weird. I don't know. I don't like it. And, like, that's part of why I think maybe the show isn't intended to have a message. Like, they think... It's almost like they're making a TV show and doing these things and writing the curious and the narrator in because they think they have to, and not because they have a point to make. You know what I mean? Like, Twilight Zone did it, and that means we should do it too. But, like, the reason Rod Serling gives gives a little statement at the beginning and end of each episode of The Twilight Zone is because he has a point to make in the episode. You know? Like, the themes and the writing are all are all trying to make a point. And I don't know what point Creeped Out is trying to make. Like, most of the time. Sometimes, some of the episodes are kind of, it seems like it's pretty cut and dried. But, like, other times, it just seems weird. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Spaceman is I don't think it's the worst episode of the show. I think the kid who plays Thomas does a pretty good job, actually. And the kid who plays the alien Stan is the same as the kid who plays the Curious. So that's a thing.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, Marty is still my favorite. Coming in second is Slapstick, because those ones are both entertaining. And the last few episodes, like, I feel like a broken record, but, like, yeah, it was just kind of boring. I didn't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are my final thoughts. Thank you, Bob, for sticking it out again.
Yep.
I'm still gonna hurt you for trapping me in a box and kidnapping my son.
That seems fair.
Thank you guys out there for listening. And please remember to like and subscribe.
And tell people about the channel.
Yeah, tell your friends. Okay, bye.